Perspectives on creation. The perspectives that we will be focusing on in this video are the gap theory and the theistic evolution theory. First off, the gap theory. The gap theory attempts to explain what exactly happened between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. The earth was supposedly completely destroyed, and then in verse 2, God reconstructs everything in 6 literal days. There is very little strength in this argument. I'll explain why. The Bible directly contradicts the gap theory because the gap theory assumes that death and destruction existed before sin existed. This contradicts what the Bible said when God condemned Adam and Eve after they had sinned against him, since that was the beginning of death. The Bible also supports the gap theory in some ways, although in much more indirect ones. In Deuteronomy 32:4, Isaiah 45:18, and 1 John 1:5, they all state that God is perfect and that everything that God does is perfect, so a newly created earth wouldn't be without shape or form. There's no scientific confirmation of the gap theory yet, but since so far we have found no break in space-time, we can safely assume that science also contradicts this theory. Overall, there's just really no proof for the gap theory and no support for it to lean on. Rather, it's widely believed that it's the product of random speculation by Bible teachers who do not want to address the gap between verse 1:1 and 2.
Theistic evolution. Theistic evolution is the belief where in the beginning God created everything, but then after setting the building blocks and natural laws, he sat back and let things flow. He did not affect or guide the evolutionary process. He simply let nature take its course. Theistic evolution is a very popular theory, and many more people believe in this theory than the gap theory, because theistic evolution serves as a middle choice between the argument of creation and evolution. By being able to explain both the creation and evolution arguments, theistic evolution provides a reasonable explanation and belief. Part of this theory contradicts the Bible, since in the Bible, God is an all-powerful and loving creator, but theistic evolution portrays God as more like an irresponsible and cruel entity. And this theory also states that God does not interact with life, but then that contradicts many parts of the Bible, where God speaks to people many times. Examples include Exodus 3:14, Joshua 1:1, Judges 6:18, and 2 Samuel 2:1. And if he doesn't interact with life, there are many questions that will be left unanswered, like where and what would morality have originated from? This theory is also supported by the Bible in some ways, by the fact that the Bible also states how God was the one who created everything in the beginning. And there are also many examples of the Bible where it supports theistic evolution. For example, 2 Peter 3:8 gives evidence on how it was not 6 literal days that were spent for God to create everything, and that 6 days is just figurative language being used. Psalm 90:10 also elaborates on this point, stating how a day doesn't have to be just 24 hours. From 3.8 to 4.5 billion years ago, an unusually large number of asteroids and comets hit Earth and destroy many organisms. And scientific data shows that after the intense catastrophe occurred, an abundance of high-level and complex life sprouted. This is evidence that further proves the theistic evolution theory.